And good evening, and welcome to another Unnecessary List. My name is Anthony Krizowitz from the Touring Fan Live, and of course, I have the smarter man in the room, Mr. Brian Meth. Let me get some claps for you, because you're definitely
How you
much more
doing?
important than I am.
Sure. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's interesting. So we haven't done an episode in a while. I know schedules have been crazy,
Yes.
and but it was weird because once the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame list came out, we kind of went back and were like, hey, we've been doing this for a while. And I went back. This is the fifth year. The first time I did it was during COVID.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and we have been doing this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing for quite a while now.
I love talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's my favorite. One of my favorite things. So when the nominations come out, all the thoughts come rushing to my head, and I think based on our show being another unnecessary list, I think that it's my favorite list that comes up every year
It
because
is.
there's so much to talk about.
It is, and it's interesting because I feel like, in the past, when you look at some of the lists, it almost seemed like there's some shoo-ins. Like, hey, this one makes sense for this year because of this is what's going on, and this one makes sense. And sometimes you're like, oh man, they kind of skipped out on an artist that should be in.
Hmm.
This has been, maybe I'm feeling different than you, but I really feel like this list to me is kind of, there's some uncertainty to it. And honestly, with the betting odds against it, which I have done some serious homework on this one.
Oh, that's interesting to hear.
Yes,
Just
yeah.
what
Oh, I
betting
have
odds are.
got the
Yeah.
betting odds on it, and we can talk about that tonight. We can talk, and I have got some stats and facts about these bands because some of these bands I've never heard of. And there's an interesting one because one of them, if they get in, potentially will break this barrier that I didn't even know existed until recently. So
Hmm.
I'm excited about that. But before we jump into this, I've been super impressed because you've been putting out a lot of work recently. And some of the stuff I've seen has been kind of mind blowing, and you put in consistently. What have you been up to? Because I mean, we haven't really had a chat in a while.
Yeah. Last year was really busy for me. Just kind of working with. I had been working with a couple of bands pretty consistently all year. I had gotten in working with the Violent Femmes. Did a poster for them, which turned into like two posters, which turned into three posters. So which was cool. And then I've just finished a poster for their spring tour that's going to be coming out in March, which is very much in the same vein. Um, and then I also reached out to, I had done a poster. So the band X from Los Angeles, great Los Angeles punk band. Um, I'd worked with them maybe 10 years ago, back in the days of gig posters. They were doing a series, and I did a poster for them. It was really fun to do that. And I saw that they were touring, and they were actually in the process of putting out their last record. So it's their last studio album that they finished called Smoke and Fiction,
Okay.
and they were going on a nationwide tour for it. And I reached out, and this was in the summer. This is in like June or July, and I had sent an email to the contact that I had, who is still their manager to this day, and all I got was an email response that said, "Call me." So I called him, and he's like, "Yeah, so this is what I want to do." And my idea of doing a poster for one show turned into me doing posters for the entire tour all year long,
That is
um,
amazing.
which was really cool because we decided to do for the different legs of the tour. We decided to do three different designs, and then we would rotate them. So designing them wasn't the hard part; it was the printing that was really challenging. So my local printer, was kind of going crazy doing 600 posters and then having to switch the dates for every 50. So it was really
Mm.
because normally, I mean, you do like a tour poster. So but they were like, no, individual posters, with the dates for the sell better. And he had all the metrics to you know bear that out. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I ended up doing nine different posters for them for over 40 shows. So it was
Wow.
over 1,200, about 900 posters that we did throughout the year. And then in addition to that, I did a Foo Fighters poster for the local show in Cincinnati, which was awesome. And so yeah, it was a busy year last year, and it's continued this year. I've already got a lot of stuff with the Violent Femmes poster and a lot of other things in the hopper. A couple posters for an act that we might talk about tonight. So that'll be
Oh,
kind of an interesting.
look at that segue. That's pretty
Yeah.
damn genius, and it's so well deserving. I mean, Brian, I've known you, which is crazy to think about because I was kind of going back to this. I've known you for a long time. And the crazy thing is we've been
Yes.
chatting for years, and we've
Mhm.
never met in person.
No, we have not.
Which is crazy. It's almost like catfish, except we know what each other looks like, and we've been doing it before AI can mess with that.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it is. This is our Rock and Roll Hall of Fame show, and it kicks off this new season, and I'm excited about it. And I think we just jump headfirst into this.
Let's go.
I'm gonna go in an alphabetical order is how I did this. So there's
Okay.
not like type deal. We're gonna start with Bad Company, end with White Stripes. So it kind of works out a little bit.
Sure.
I'm going to talk some statistics about them and give the betting odds, and then we're kind of go back and forth a little bit. If I think that makes the most sense,
Yeah.
giving each group a thing. So, Bad Company, first of all, on a personal level, like that is a band that like if you go to your drunk uncle's barbecue, you probably heard him play at least one or two songs.
Hell yeah, you have.
Yeah, there's
Any
definitely
classic rock. I mean, yeah.
That's right.
People, Bad Company songs.
Yeah, but I didn't realize so they're definitely I'm out of the generation that is a Bad Company fan. 12 studio albums, Can't Get Enough was a #1 single from Bad Company and off the 1974 self-titled album. Moving On reached number 19 in the Billboard Hot 100. Bad Company, Ready for Love, and Rocksteady are classic staples based off of like the charts on Spotify. Those are the top ones. Feel Like Making Love, Youngblood, Shooting Star, and Rock and Roll Fantasy were other top 40 hits. They never broke anything higher than or lower or higher. They kind of stayed in that top 40 area.
Yeah.
Their debut album sold more than 40 million records worldwide. It was certified 5 times platinum in the United States, making it the 46th best-selling album of the 1970s. And what's interesting, on the betting odds, they're an 8-1 favorite to get in. The interesting thing about this is, and reading a lot about Bad Company is, a lot of times when there's something like there's a reason why they're in, because Bad Company's been eligible for a long time to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Their lead singer has made it known that he doesn't know how much longer he's gonna be able to tour. I guess he has some issues vocally. So this is kind of, I guess they're coming towards the end of touring for them. So that kind of, I guess, makes sense. But I will say that it is, besides that, it's kind of odd timing when you look at some of the artists that potentially could have been nominees. I am not a Bad Company fan. I don't know if I've ever owned an album from them, but you have to respect the fact that the numbers for them in the United States market, because outside of the United States, even in Canada and Mexico and in Europe, they're not very good. So they're very much a United States band.
And I agree. And I think that what happens is, and we've talked about this on the other shows, is you get bands from certain decades or certain generations that kind of they're eligible to get into the Rock Hall, and then they hang on, and then there's a time where they just kind of get slotted in to the nominations. Now, I thought specifically this list of nominations was really kind of the first one that we've talked about that was really heavy with 90s and 2000s acts, and more so where they dominated the nominees. I mean, other than Bad Company, Joe Cocker, Chubby Checker, we've got a lot of modern artists on this list.
You're very correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't know how that bodes for Bad Company. Because I think when I look at it, then I look at the older artists. You've got Joe Cocker, Bad Company, Chubby Checker. I thought Chubby Checker was already in.
Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah, shocked by that.
So that to me, I think for me, those 3 artists, Chubby Checker is at the top to slide right in. But they always do come up with some weird little ways to kind of get people in. So I don't think you can. They just seem like one of those they sold a lot of records and they have a lot of hits on. But is Bad Company? I mean, I think we had this conversation last year with Foreigner. and Foreigner had a big push from Mark Ronson, who, the lead singer or the leader of Foreigner, was his stepfather or something like that. So he was a big proponent to get Foreigner in. So we do have to remember that there are those kind of things that happen behind the scenes that we are not privy to. But yeah, I mean, I like Jukebox Hero and all that good stuff when it's on the radio. I mean, I really do enjoy those songs, but there are a lot of other people on this list that I really would, that are more from our generation,
Correct.
that I'd really be pushing for.
Well, you have to think it's going to be hard pressed for someone under the age of 60 to really be able to go through their catalog and name things. I'm not trying to knock it, but that's the truth. I mean, honestly,
No.
And the thing too is looking, and this is another topic that I was going to talk about was like some of the artists that we're going to talk about tonight have really gone to social media to push to really get that nomination in for them.
Yeah,
Company's
I
not
agree.
one of them, but
No.
but I think also that's a generation that doesn't utilize social media for that. Those are the kids, the people that go to social media to complain on Yelp for a bad fast food review or something. Not so much to get Bad Company in. But I will say though, I mean, Peter Frampton, last year got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And actually had there was a real big push for him from artists that I guess that were inspired by him that kind of got him into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I'm wondering if that's kind of how Bad Company gets in, because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I mean, in the title it says rock and roll, right? And I mean, it has definitely changed. We've talked about that for the last 5 years in the show, but in the grand scheme of things, what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was originally created for, and what Bad Company was able to create in the 70s, 80s, they took their break, came back out, and what they're kind of doing, like they fit the mold of what it was originally based off of, not what it is now. So
yeah, they're the traditional rock band. I mean,
100%,
they're traditional, like Foreigner, like bands like that. And it's interesting that you brought up Frampton, because when I was watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony from last year, they had Frampton, they had Foreigner, and there were definitely, like, I think Foreigner was inducted by like Sammy Hagar, and so there was definitely that that connection between it was older artists inducting older artists, which I thought was kind of interesting, as opposed to sometimes when you have a more contemporary or modern artist inducting people. I mean, Hagar talked about touring with Foreigner and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, he knew them from like way and touring with Frampton, so he knew both of them from way back, which was kind of an interesting conversation piece that they had. But
I also think it's kind of like the Bon Jovi thing we've talked about. Like when you look at,
I totally agree. Bon Jovi, Def Leppard. It's at what point? This is my question, and I don't know. Maybe I won't word it eloquently, but it's like, at what point are we just like, you can't put everybody from the 70s or everybody from the 80s in. You gotta have a line.
Yeah,
and it's like. What are we gonna do? Put Winger in because they've been hanging out for, or even there are certain bands that you're just like, they either make the grade or they don't, and everybody can't be in, because that means nothing.
Exactly. And the other thing I look at too is like, and I think this is where if you don't get in right away, right? Like there's some artists like Pearl Jam, boom, right away. Okay. And they're influential to artists that are out now. There's artists like, I watched a thing today about John Mayer talking about how, some of the riffs that really influenced him and how his playing style is from Mike McCready, or even listening to like, storytelling from other artists that are inspired by artists that have gotten in, and the one in the first shot, Bad Company has taken a while to even get nominated. Now they're nominated. So, and what you were talking about, Peter Frampton, is relevant to this, because Peter Frampton, when he went in, it wasn't like a modern artist was like, hey, they inspired me to be where I am right now. And so when Bad Company's going in, who's performing now?
I get where you're going, and I felt the same way, because I mean, yes, we have bands that, like, I think you look at Pearl Jam and the Ramones, were a big influence on Eddie, and the Who, and all of those influences. I think we also get to a band that we've talked about on previous shows, the Pixies.
Yeah.
Like and at what point is that inspiration where you don't have the Pixies, you don't have Nirvana, or at least we don't have Nirvana the way we know Nirvana.
Correct.
Which gets me back to my point is, like, how many times have you heard somebody say, man, if it wasn't for Bad Company, I wouldn't have picked up a guitar. I
Correct.
mean, yeah. So that to me is like where I get to when we're talking influences. And you
Sure.
got a puppy in the back there.
Oh,
You know,
Penny came
yeah,
in.
it's cute. No, it's cool. But
um,
yeah. At what point? Because you're like, how many people? I went back to the same thing with Bon Jovi. Who's out there saying? Who's out there holding the like? Man, Bon Jovi really made me want to pick up a guitar.
correct.
Um,
And
there were other bands.
I also feel like there's some artists that are in a genre of music that at some point that genre of music stops. Not that it dies, because I feel like there is a fan base for Bad Company and
Hmm.
even like the Journeys per se and Foreigner and things. But at some point there was a revolution in music that
Yeah.
that it changed everything, correct?
Hmm.
And when it
Hmm.
changed everything, like that music stopped. People weren't playing that style of music and went to something else. So
Yeah.
like Bad Company, when that genre of music kind of stopped, which I would say would be the mid to late 80s, like when that music really stopped being like kind
Let's stop
of
being on your
like
pop
radar.
station or
Correct,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
When that stopped and the next genre of music came out, it wasn't like they were those next wave of bands were trying to even like use those as references. They were creating something new. Where nowadays, and even from then, like Bad Company is not starting new bands. Is Bad Company a good band? Yeah, I think that you can't say that. You can't look past their numbers. That's the big thing. The
Yeah.
numbers are big. But to me, there's been a lot of successful artists that have had big numbers that I don't think deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Um, and we could get into that another time. But I would say this, in my opinion, I think I appreciate what Bad Company has done for music, but I don't think, in my opinion, that they are getting in this year. And if they do, it's going to be something like the Peter Frampton side. They're going to get in
Yeah.
because of a push of the older artists trying to get him in because the lead singer is of ill will and not being able to tour much longer.
I couldn't agree more. I think that you're spot on. You're spot on. I
Yeah.
totally agree because I think that yeah, at some point you're just like people aren't out there wanting to start a band because of Bad Company. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe they are, but they're probably not.
Yeah. All right. So the next
But
band,
one point.
yeah.
So one point I wanted to make was because you talked about the selling of selling records, and
Mhm.
yeah, when I started doing my research, I was like, the first thing I look at is how many records they've sold. But for me, so I think that most of the people on this, they've all sold a lot of records.
They have.
We can all, whether it's 120 million, like Mariah Carey, or maybe it's 220 million. But either whether it's 220 million or 50 million, yeah, they've all sold a lot of records. So you can kind of put that aside.
Yeah.
For me, it's like those intangible things that we'll talk about in some of these other artists, and some of those things that like they've done that nobody else did.
Yep.
And for me, Bad Company does not have those. They sold a lot of records, great. They don't have those intangible things that we'll talk about in some of these later artists.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one. The next one on the list, going in, like I said, alphabetical order, is the Black Crowes. With 10 studio albums, She Talks to Angels reached number 30 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1991. Hard to Handle reached number 15 on Billboard Hot 100 in 1990 and has been covered by over 400 artists and recorded on albums 400 times by separate artists. Hard to Handle.
Wow.
But it is a cover originally, don't forget.
It is, yes.
Jealous Again reached number 9 on the Billboard Top 100 in 1990, and then Remedy reached number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1992. So majority of their top 100 songs were always going to be in that early 90 to 92 off their first kind of two albums.
Mhm.
They were, like I said, released 10 albums, selling more than 30 million copies worldwide. The Shake Your Money Maker was multi-platinum certified and sold more than 5 million copies. The 1992 album, The Southern Harmony and Musical Companion, was also multi-platinum certified. And then they had their 2024 album, Happiness Bastards, which was nominated for a Grammy but didn't win. I'll let you kind of break down that. I will say that Black Crowes do have a 4-1 betting odds right now. They're
Okay.
legitimately betting lines. You can bet on the Rock and Roll, and they're a 4-1 favorite to get in.
I think that's a generous line. Personally, also personally, I love the Black Crowes.
Me too.
I love them. I think that to me, they're like the quintessential, like I think for our generation, the quintessential Southern band. I think it's like them, and they come out of that like Tom Petty and Leonard Skinner and all that kind of, it's even with the brothers and stuff like that. And I think that they they have a direct line to bands like Kings of Leon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I always liked the Black Crowes. I have always been a fan. I've never seen them live. I would like to see them live because I like the way that they kind of mix stuff up and do it differently. Um, and I think they're a great band, and I think that I would really like to see them get in. But this is a list that we talked about, which is very heavy towards our generation. So I want to see all of these people, all these people from the late, from the '90s and the aughts get in.
Correct.
So yeah. So what do you think about?
So I have seen the Black Crowes live, and they were amazing. And it kind of goes to the theory again, how you were saying is there's a lineage that you can follow that shows where, you talk about, Leonard Skinner to Tom Petty to Black Crowes. You can say Kings of Leon, My Morning Jacket, bands that are still around, that are still performing and making great music, that are influenced by the playing style and how they perform. Black Crowes, they were able to be so amazing in the 90s, screw it all up by bad decisions in the band, come back, they're doing successful. They just did a recent spot on the Fire Aid lineup show that had, they supposedly did, like, I guess really just brought a lot of eyes to them.
That's a great thing. That's really good for them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and people are just like, their Spotify numbers are really high, which is something to say. There's people still listening to them. And I think that the thing about them that Bad Company doesn't have is the people that are 60 are listening to Black Crowes. The people that are in their 30s and 40s and even getting into music now that are learning how to play guitar are learning how to play Hard to Handle, learning Remedy. There's still like those classics that are going to be around a lot longer, that are being played at your drunk uncle's barbecue, and also being played at you're making dinner at home type deal. So to me, well, I would love to see the Black Crowes get in, and I think it's so well deserved, and I think that if there wasn't another band on this list, which I'll talk about later, I think that they would be a shoe-in this year. I think we're about 3 years away from Black Crowes getting in, but I will say this is talking about the social media side of things. Black Crowes are utilizing like marketing like crazy to get this nomination put through. They're utilizing Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
That's awesome. They should be doing that. But I think one thing that just kind of came to me while you were talking was that, like, they did this in like the '90s when it was grunge, and they were not grunge.
No.
And they were still successful. And these songs would be on the radio with Alice in Chains and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and they stood out on their own, man. They were doing, and I dig I think there's nothing cool. This whole Southern rock vibe is something that I've always really enjoyed, and they do it better than anybody, I think.
I agree.
They're fun to.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I like musicians when they come on stage. They're just them. Like they're like, when I saw them, they came out and they were wearing like a Mickey Mouse shirt. They were dirty.
There's like no pretext. There's no. It's just like, this is just who they are.
Exactly.
And I love that. I love that when Chris sings that he just does what he does. He doesn't. It's not like the record.
No,
it's not. He's not doing the same thing that he did on the record. He's just and it's a totally different experience.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting. So, do you think they get in, or do you think we're looking probably to the future for them?
I think I would like to see them get in there. At the list of 7 that I chose, which is what you have on the fan ballot, I did pick them, but I think that it's probably, like you said, another 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
But no, I think it'd be really interesting if they got in along with another band that they actually toured with. That also has brothers in it. That would be funny and weird.
That would be good, but I do think, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right, so next on the list is Mariah Carey. So this is her second nomination in a row. Last year was her first time ever being nominated, second year in a row. With 15 studio albums, she has 19 number 1 hits on the Billboard Top 100, more than any other solo artist ever. She's had 28 top 10 hits, which is also the most ever. God, the list goes on. Vision of hits.
These are these intangible things that I was talking about. When like she's got I think she is the first person to ever have her first 5 singles go number 1.
Yeah.
So she's got lots of things that only she has accomplished.
Well, and you have to think
Um,
about this too. For people that are saying that she doesn't belong in there, I mean, Whitney Houston, George Michael, Janet
mhm,
Jackson
mhm.
have gone in. They proved that. And here's the thing: I mean, and not Whitney Houston. I'm sorry, Mariah Carey's voice alone and the way she
Yeah.
can hit vocals. I mean, that is just something that people can't do. I mean, people have
Mhm.
tried replicating Mariah Carey so many times and
Yeah.
never were able to do it. I mean, and
No.
she has songs like that will be around for the rest of. I mean, for the
Mm.
rest of
Oh,
eternity.
you'll hear that. You're gonna hear that Christmas song. You're gonna
Oh
hear that Christmas
God,
song. We're gonna hear that to the end of time.
end of time.
And and a time. And yeah, you're right. It's not only has she accomplished things that other people haven't, she can do things vocally that other people just can't. And so it's just that sets her apart as well. I was shocked she didn't get in last year. I really thought she would be a first timer, and we've talked about like that kind of cachet of getting in on your first ballot.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised she didn't. But I don't see how she doesn't get in this time. I would be even doubly shocked if she didn't, because
So
she's just
the only reason I don't think she would potentially get in is because so
Mhm.
this year the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is going to be in the fall in Los Angeles. It has
Okay.
been leaked that next year the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is going to be at Madison Square Garden in the fall. Now
Mm,
Mariah Carey is a Long Island girl, so if her
yeah.
no- if for some reason she doesn't get in based off of the nominees fan vote, which is surprising that last year she wasn't able to do that, because I mean she's got
Mhm.
a massive fan base. Then I would think that next year is almost a shoe-in because of her being a Long Island girl and New York being home base for her. But
Yeah.
I do think so. Her betting odds are 2-1. I mean, it's pretty high.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Like I said, I am shocked that I was shocked she didn't get in last year. And so yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
the only hiccup I could see potentially is Cyndi Lauper on here and being another pop star. Different kind of music, but still a female pop star, in a kind, which I guess she's still more rock and roll. I don't know.
Well, no,
Um,
I think that's a good point. And that leads me to this list, other than Cindy and Mariah, is very sausage fest.
it is
So
Sausage Fest
it
Day,
is a
yeah, 100%.
lot of dudes. It is a
Ooh.
lot of dudes, which is
Ooh.
surprising because there have been a lot more women that have gotten in over the last couple of years.
Yes.
And I think last year may have had the most women that had ever been up for nomination.
Yeah.
So um, for them to only have two on here, and honestly, I think they both get in because when we get to Cindy, she's done things that other people haven't done either.
Correct.
She's also a singular talent. So a singular talent, and just she's accomplished things that other people have never duplicated.
So true. Well, and
Hmm.
talking about artists that have done things that no one else has done, this next artist shocks the living hell out of me that is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that is Chubby Checker. Let
Uh
me
huh. Yeah.
first of all, when I saw he was named on the list, I thought maybe I'm like, well, is he in another band that potentially got in and now this him as a solo artist, or how's he overlooked? Because I mean, let me just throw some statistics and stats at you and just
Please do.
okay. He's the only artist to have 5 albums in the top 12 all at once. Let me repeat that. 5
Wow.
albums in the top 12 charts all at one time. That means the 12 albums, there were 7 other albums, the other 5 were his. In those
Yeah.
days, each album had 12 songs on it. So that means that Chubby Checker had 60 songs in the top 12 of the album charts at the same time. No other artist has ever come close to this as of today.
That is a deep cut, and that is exactly why he should be in.
Oh, well, how about this? In 1960, the Twist hit number 1 on the charts. In 1962, the Twist hit number 1 again. Twist is the only song to ever hit the number 1 position in different years in the rock and roll category. Chubby Checker is the only artist to have ever have 9 double-sided hits at the same time. In those days, each disc had 2 sides with a song on each side. So they used to do like a side-by-side type deal.
Mhm.
Only artists ever do that. Where is it? Oh, Chuck Berry is the first artist ever to perform the televised Super Bowl halftime show. He was the first artist. Now, what that means is back then they used to do like colleges and they used to do like stunts and stuff. He's the first artist ever to perform for the Super Bowl halftime show. He started it all. Started with Chubby Checkers, and then most recently it was with Kendrick Lamar. So
Yeah.
the generational thing.
Hmm.
I am shocked he's not in, and if he doesn't get in this year, it is a travesty.
I totally agree, 100%. And just based on first of all, those are fantastic statistics, and it's exactly what I'm talking about with these intangible things. But simply the twist. I mean, the twist. Come on, who doesn't
Come
know
on,
the twist?
baby.
Who doesn't know the twist? And the twist, and it's I got to be honest. I totally agree with you. I was shocked that Chubby wasn't. I was like, there's got to be a mistake because I
The
would have
fact they don't
assumed
even have
Chubby
like
would have been in.
the fact they don't even have like an award of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that's like the Chubby Checker Award of Recognition for our so and so
Good
art
point.
is shocking to me as well because
Absolutely, yes.
I mean here's the thing. His statistics and stats from music and songs is not just so defined to United States where like Bad Company is. You're talking about an artist that is like his songs are played at every wedding in the world. His music was. I mean, you're talking about that song, The Twist, was first performed on television. It wasn't even a hit yet. He first performed it on TV on a late night show, and then it just took off. It was so ahead of his time. The fact he's not in. I mean, and the thing is, Chubby Checker at that time was a defining musician that was able to reshape music and move it into and help move it into a different period in time that is still sending shockwaves to now. The fact it's taking this long is absolutely ridiculous, and if he's got to go in. His odds are 3-1, which are weird to me.
Ooh, that is weird.
I mean, and it's weird because there's another artist. Hold on a second. I think I may be saying that right. No, his numbers are 5-1, which are even worse.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was shocked by that because I was looking at Joe Cocker's numbers, which spoiler 3-1.
That's no.
So, but Chubby Checker, in my opinion, I think he's getting in.
I hope so.
Yeah,
yes,
I think
he's
so.
Topped on my list. I hope Chubby gets it.
All right. Now,
absolutely.
Next on the list is Joe Cocker. Now I'm going to be honest with you. Now this is where once again I think it's like Bad Company.
I agree.
All I know about Joe Cocker is no, what do you do if I sing? That's it. That's all I know.
That's a little help for my friends?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's at Woodstock, and he's all and every time I think about it, it makes me think of John Belushi doing it on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and then I think of Wonder Years.
Yeah, in the Wonder Years. Yeah.
That's it. Well,
yeah, that's it.
That's it. Well, here I'm going to throw some numbers at you.
No disrespect to Joe, but
yeah. First of all, do you know he has, and this is what blows my mind because I thought this was a lie because I thought Kiss had this. He has the most numbered registered cover bands in the United States. Let me repeat that. Joe Cocker has the most.
That is an obscure.
Listen,
statistic.
I want. Listen, if we're doing this show, right? New season. I was like, I'm going to try this new thing. New studio, new Anthony. I'm going to start doing my homework. I was like, I'm going to pull these facts out. Yes.
Wow.
So if you are a cover band, you're supposed to register so that you don't get hit and you have to pay, fees for playing the music.
Royalties and everything. Yeah.
Exactly. The most cover bands registered in the United States are number one is Joe Cocker. Mind blowing.
Kidding me.
I'm dead serious.
Wow, man, that's just weird.
I thought it would be Kiss because you have all the Kiss bands, but actually Kiss is like number 19. But yeah, so 22 studio albums. Joe Cocker has 19 hits in the Billboard Top 100. His biggest was "Up Where We Belong" in 1982. I listened to it, never heard it. Top hits was "Up Where We Belong," which was his biggest hit. Spent 3 weeks at number 1 in the Top 100.
Was that a duet with somebody?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think no. "You Are So Beautiful" was in 1982 was a duet.
Oh, okay.
Then there was "The Letter," which was a top 10 hit with Leon Russell and the Shelter People in 1982. Then "When the Night Comes" was a top 10 hit in 1982. "Feeling Alright" top 10 hit 1969. And then of course some of the other songs that are really memorable based off this list and Spotify. "A Little Help with My Friends," which is the only song I really knew, but also I didn't realize that was a cover. So
yeah, it's a Beatles song.
And
Ringo sang it.
Yes. So, and I'd be honest with you. Now, I will say that I think Joe Cocker does a better version, in my opinion.
Well, it is Ringo. No disrespect to Ringo, but yes, it is Ringo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it is Ringo. He just keep with the drumming. Then he had some other songs too, but I tried digging deep into him, right? And like I said, I mean, I know that his performance at Woodstock is memorable, and there's video, and I did watch that on YouTube the other night, and it was amazing. But I was like, oh, this is good. Like he's a very talented artist, but like I think that he possibly probably inspires more artists nowadays than Bad Company in a theory of like that style of music. But it's just weird to me. And he's a 3-1 betting odds to get in. I just don't know enough about him to feel one way or the other. I just don't think he gets in.
I don't think so either, unless they try to shoehorn him in, and as one of those side categories things that we talked about and never really given a name to.
The Chubby
But
Checker Award.
the Chubby Checker Award, or like they've done it before with like Sidemen. That's how
Yeah.
they got in. Randy Rhodes, who deserves to be in there. There's no doubt about it. But Joe Cocker's not a Sideman or whatever. So maybe they find some way to shoehorn him in. I would rather put my votes behind Chubby and
I agree.
Chubby, Joe Cocker, and then Bad Company in my estimation. But there are so many other people on this list that I love and really want them to get in. So yeah, sorry, Joe.
I totally agree with you.
Not that I don't like you, but I'm also not throwing you on my Spotify right away. So
No. Now going to an artist who I believe he's definitely comes from a different era. I still think that he influenced a lot of artists, still does, and still tours in a way that I've seen him live and blew me away. That's Billy Idol.
yes,
I love Billy Idol. But it's crazy to me because you think about it, he was the frontman for the punk band Generation X, right? But
yeah,
that never had a huge stateside success. That Generation X overseas in Europe and stuff, that was massive, selling out shows, But when he tried to come to America with it, didn't do well.
mm-hmm.
But as a solo artist, he was able to restructure some of those songs and make them his own.
Mm-hmm.
He had 12 songs in the Billboard charts, including 4 top 10 hits and 1 number 1 hit. Hot in the City was topped off at 23. Cradle of Love was topped at number 2. Mony Mony, number 1. Eyes Without a Face, which is my favorite, topped off at number 4. To Be a Lover topped off at number 6. And he had 8 studio albums, still touring to this day, and still has a cult following. And there's something special about Billy Idol. I don't know. There's something about his performance and his singing and his just badassery and just the way he handles himself. This is someone I'd like to see into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I believe he deserves it. I do think that he was, not only just for him as a solo artist, but what he was able to do in the punk band Generation X. I do think that he was able to create something, and it's still sustainable to today. So, in my opinion, I think that he should be in. But what are your thoughts on Billy Idol?
Well, I mean, you didn't grow up in the '80s without hearing Billy Idol on the radio. There's no question about it. I mean, and all the songs that you named, Cradle of Love, Eyes Without a Face, Mony Mony, they're just staples, and they're on, classic rock radio, to this day. He's my neighbor was like, she's like, man, I just really want to see Billy Idol. And I was like, Billy Idol's coming to Cincinnati and he's playing the big, amphitheater thing over the summer. So yeah, he's still packing venues. For me, I was never a huge Billy Idol fan. He was fine. He wasn't great. White Wedding, all that stuff. There are other people that I'd rather see in more, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in.
Yeah.
But especially, he did the London punk thing. I mean, he's been around forever, and he was able to, start his career, London punk with that same era as like the Clash and all that stuff, and then the Clash, Sex Pistols, all those things.
Yeah.
And then come to America and then have an entire career in the late '70s, early '80s, all the way through the '80s.
Yeah.
So definite staying power there. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets in. Like, I could see him getting in over some other people that I would rather see in. But yeah.
Well, and I think you'll see him potentially over Black Crows just for semantics, I would say.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he got in over Black Crows.
I think that kind of we were talking about like intangibles. You said the song White Wedding, which is a song that never even broke the top 100 ever. And that's
which I'm shocked because you didn't say that, and I thought like that's the biggest hit he ever had.
Correct.
Like that's what you think. Yeah, you would think so. But
the fact that you were able to pull a song that never made top 100. Now, also, P.S. That is the only song I karaoke to, by the way.
Really?
White Wedding. Oh yeah, only song I've done. I've only karaokeed 5 times, and every time I've karaokeed to Billy Idol's White Wedding. I do not know why. It just it's been that thing, but
it's just a thing. It's a staple. I mean, it's on every karaoke list. I mean, come on, there.
Oh yeah.
See the thing, and the other thing that I think of is another thing that we have to consider is who gets in, and then how do they get a performance out of all of these people, or how do they do that? And I think that there are some of the people on this list um, that are problematic in that vein. Chubby Checker, we're not getting Chubby Checker because he's dead.
No.
Bad Company, if the lead singer's having problems, do they perform? I don't know. The Black Crowes are performing. Joe Cocker's not performing because he's gone.
Yep.
And then there's a couple other ones that are, we haven't talked about them yet, so we'll keep them quiet. But
Correct.
yeah, how do you put together a show when you can't put in a bunch of artists that are all dead?
Correct.
Doesn't work out. So, but Billy's not dead. Billy's still around. Billy's doing shows. Billy could definitely get it.
Yeah, no, I totally. Now, let's talk about an artist. Well, I guess a band's, which is interesting to me how they did this. That is up, and that's Joy Division and New Order. This is an interesting one, and I have. Let's just go through some stats real quick. 2 albums by Joy Division, which is commonly known. New Order had 10 albums, which I was shocked by that large number. Joy Division had 6 songs on the Billboard Top 100. Their debut on the Billboard 200 chart was in 1988, and they reached a peak position of 146. So not tremendously high. They had 6 songs on the Billboard Top 100. The one that peaked at 146 was in September 17th, 1988. And then Joy Division was active from 78 to 80, of course, because of the passing. Love Us Tear You Apart was reached number 13 on the pop charts in 1980. So all over the place a little bit. When it comes to New Order, Blue Monday is the best-selling 12-inch single of all time, which is news. I didn't know that. New Order recorded World in Motion, which was the official song of the England national football team in the 1990 World Cup campaign, and was the hottest-selling song at the time for singles. Record stores couldn't keep it in order. New Order songs have appeared on Billboard Hot 100 multiple times, including Blue Monday, Regret, True Faith, Round and Round, and World, The Price of Love. So here is this is where I think they did this because they're going to get in. Because they put Joy Division and New Order together. Because honestly, as much as it's the same band with a different singer, I think it was separated. It could have been separate. I think Joy Division get in by itself. I don't think New Order gets in per se without being attached to Joy Division, in my opinion. I think Joy Division is Joy Division to the youth of America is kind of like how Nirvana is to them. There is, because you see a lot of Joy Division shirts out, the iconic wavy design.
Yeah, the Unknown Pleasures graphic. Yeah,
correct. It's kind of like Nirvana, where and Love Will Tear You Apart. Love Will Tear Us Apart. Again, that song is something that resonates. There's kids now, like my son knows that song. So it is something that's around, and the tragedy of the artist is also a staple that is kind of around as well. Kind of like a Nirvana with Kurt Cobain. So I do think that Joy Division has more of what's the word I'm looking for? I think they resonate and I think they inspire more artists than New Order does. I mean, New Order did have a couple songs like Blue Monday was, covered by Orgy in 1999 or 1998. I'm sorry, and that was kind of sparked, a revolutionary kind of spark for the interest of the original song. But I still think Joy Division is the key part of that whole thing.
I find it weird. I mean, I understand the grouping of these two bands together, but I don't get it. Like, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's the, is it something? I think what it lends is like, oh, well, New Order is just a natural. If Ian Curtis didn't die, New Order would have Joy Division would have become New Order, and I don't think that that's the case. I think Ian was such the focal point of that band as far as songwriting and just kind of his bleak worldview. And I think that this is another band that you look at that has influenced so many bands. Like, without Joy Division, do you have Nine Inch Nails? Without Joy Division, do you have industrial music in and of itself? I mean, I think that's a huge question. Do you have bands like Nine Inch Nails and Filter and Stabbing Westward and Ministry and all of these types of bands that did industrial, because influence. I mean, they were early new wave type of stuff with the keyboards and everything. So I mean, Joy Division has influenced tons and tons and tons of different bands. New Order picked up where Joy Division left off, but if Ian Curtis was still alive, would they be making songs like Blue Monday? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
So the whole lumping them together, I hope they get in, because I do love Joy Division, and I love New Order, but yeah, I think they've been on a couple of the lists that we've talked about previously, and I don't recall if they've lumped New Order in with Joy Division, or if it was just Joy Division before.
So I tried looking into that a little bit, and I didn't see
Yeah.
them lumped together in the past because
Okay.
there was only one show. I think it was the 2021 episode was when they were nominated. They didn't get in, but it was just Joy Division.
Joy Division. So yeah, I think it's interesting that that putting them together does that. Get them over the finish line this year. I don't know, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird the way they have kind of. You can understand why they're related, but they're really two completely. Other than the personnel, they're two completely different styles of music.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's almost like having Soundgarden. No, I'm sorry. It's like Temple of the Dog and Pearl Jam going in at the same time, but it's just because Chris Cornell was the lead singer, and it was just Pearl Jam backing them. I don't know. I know it's really random.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you think of any, and I understand that they changed the name. They put Joy Division to bed, and it became New Order. But how is it any different than AC/DC when Bon Scott died and Brian Johnson came in? I mean, what if they changed the name of the? I mean, same people were writing the music, but what if they changed the name of the band to, I don't know, B-plus? Who knows?
That's a good name
put them
for a
both
band.
in at the same. Sure, why not? That's copywritten, so nobody can use that unless they pay me money. So, what's next?
All right, we got Cyndi Lauper, 12 studio albums. Cyndi Lauper has had 13 songs on the Billboard Hot 100, including 7 top 10 hits. Her biggest hits include, which everyone knows, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which reached number 12 in 1983. Time After Time reached number 1 in 1984 and was nominated for Song of the Year at the Grammys, but she didn't win. True Colors reached number 1 in 1986. Think about this, 2 number 1 songs. She Bop reached number 3 in 1984. Change of Heart reached number 3 in 1987. All Through the Night reached number 5 in 1984. I Drove All Night reached number 6 in 1989. The Goonies Are Good Enough reached number 10 in 1985. What's Going On reached number 12 in 1987. Money Changed Everything reached number 27 in 1985. Lauper has had 11 charted albums of the Billboard 200, including 2 in the top 10, and was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame not that long ago.
Was Captain Lou Albano also inducted with her?
I think he's dead.
Yeah. Okay. So, Cyndi Lauper also has. Those are great stats, and one of her other intangibles is she is the only person, or maybe the only woman, but I think she's the only person to have her first 4 singles be in the top 10 off of her debut album.
Wow.
So that's also something that she's the only person that's accomplished. She also won a Tony for writing the music in Kinky Boots. She's, I think she's on her final tour right now. But yeah, I think she's done all kinds of crazy shit. She's been around forever. She's done it True Colors is a American standard now. I think it's just a song that 1 million people cover, and everybody knows that song. And just especially for the fact, she was in the 80s. She came out before Madonna. They, the media tried to pit that whole Cyndi Lauper versus Madonna thing, and I hope she gets in. I think it really deserves it, and I'd be surprised if she doesn't. But I think the lack of women on the nominee list this year might not bode well for her, but we will see. I think this is maybe her second time or third time.
Isn't she from California too?
I believe she's from New York.
Oh, okay. I was wrong. Oh, you know what? You're 100% correct. I kind of remember her having that accent, but
yeah.
And the thing with Cyndi Lauper is, and this is something that we talk about intangibles, right? You go from Cher to Cyndi Lauper to Madonna, right? From Madonna going into some, we can say even like Bjork in the 90s, that style of
Oh
and
yeah,
then right into Lady Gaga. Right now, you can go to Chaperone. These
yeah.
artists have that kind of. You can see how they all influence each other. And to this day, with an artist that is huge, that has that look, that feel, and that style that goes all the way back, that you can follow a pathway to, and that is where I feel like those intangibles make much more sense than some of the other artists we've talked about.
I agree. I agree. And I think that Chaperone's a perfect example. I think that you can see a direct line from like Cyndi Lauper to Chaperone on
Yeah.
what that influence is, style wise, fashion, all that kind of stuff, her appearance. So yeah, I think she's one of those. I mean, and especially for the 80s, if you were a kid that grew up in the 80s, I mean, she was the height of MTV, man, she was on all the time. And she was on wrestling, and you saw Cyndi Lauper everywhere. So,
Well, she's a 3-1 betting odds to get in.
well, those are good. I
Good
can't. I don't see how she and Joe Cocker are both at 3-1. That is just insanity. But that's just me.
All right. Well, I'm pro Cyndi Lauper, anti Joe Cocker. So that's what I'm just saying. Especially with so much man in this, I am anti Cocker.
Yes, anti Cocker.
Anti Cocker. All right. So next is an interesting one. I've done a lot of homework on this. Mana,
Yes.
which is a Mexican band. Here's something this is where I think where the location is and what I'm about to tell you all kind of this band is going to get in. There is no other Spanish, Mexican, Espanol act in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as of today. Not a single one. So, and there's going to be a lot of unfamiliarity to this band, but let me give you some stats. This band has 30,
I know that they've sold tons of records.
Oh my God. 32 songs on the Billboard Hot Latin Song Charts, with 10 of them reaching #1. That is huge numbers. They are a Grammy-winning Mexican pop rock band. They have sold more than 40 million albums worldwide. Their best-selling album, which I'm going to butcher because I do not speak Spanish, is Donde Jugarino Los Ninos, which sold 10 million copies. They have won 24 Billboard Latin Music Awards. They were the first artist to receive the Icon Award at the Billboard Latin Music Awards, and their handprint is on the Hollywood Rock Walk of Fame and star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. This band has literally gotten every award except this, and it is interesting to me that their home base is out of LA. They're kind of where their roots are grown as they've kind of gotten bigger. They sell out stadiums like crazy.
I'm sure they do.
Oh my! I was watching a video of them performing, and it was wild how many people were there. I think with this being in Los Angeles, I think with the large Hispanic population in Los Angeles that follow them, and their fan base is very dedicated at the Los Angeles market, and they're touring to this day, and they're selling out like crazy. I feel as though this is the start of them bringing in a new category and even bringing in a new style of music that is rock and roll, because this is rock and roll. This is more rock and roll than I don't know, some of the other artists, like even Mariah Carey. This is more rock and roll, but the fact that a Hispanic, Mexican, Espanol rock and roll act has never ever gotten into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is shocking to me, and I do believe this band deserves it with a betting odds of 4-1.
Wow, so I think it being in Los Angeles is an excellent point, and I could see why that I could see that working for them. And just I thought, and when I think you're reading the list the first time you're reading through the list, and you're like, huh? But yeah, when you look at all they're a huge act, and they sell out everywhere, and they sell tons of records, and they're extremely popular. I wouldn't be surprised if they get in either, especially. And I think the Los Angeles thing, I'll tell you what though, their Los Angeles fan base really needs to get on the ball, because they are last in the fan voting with only 12,500 votes. But
that's shocking.
I don't think the fan voting really makes a goddamn bit of difference,
no.
to be honest. And if they're still touring and performing, they'll perform at the ceremony in LA, and it will probably be a huge deal. So yeah, I would not be surprised if they get it either.
All right. Well, I don't know much.
Totally
about
agree.
It's
I don't either, and I think I need to listen to some. I need to listen to a little bit and see. You know,
They had some catchy songs. Like there was one
yeah,
song where like the guy went into like this whole like chant, and I don't know what he was doing and what they were saying, but I was getting into it. I mean, I was totally down for the vibe of music that was coming across
cool.
my earwaves. So yeah, totally. And I get it. I mean, you know, the one of the things that we've moving out to the Midwest and Brady playing on this academy team, we've actually there's a lot of Mexican American families that play on his
Uh
team
huh.
that we've basically adopted as like family of our own.
Uh huh.
And I talked to one of them the other day about this, and he's like, oh God, my dad listened to him, I listened to him, like they were like
Okay.
huge, and like the way
Yeah.
that he talked about it was like almost, and I don't want to like downplay this band I'm about to say, but like the way that he talked about it and their culture and how it was almost like how we might talk about like maybe our parents listening to like the Rolling Stones. Like I know it sounds
Okay.
crazy, but like he
No,
was
but
like
I mean,
talking like it's just a different
it was
culture,
just
different
something that
way.
was it's just something that was like they listened to all the time. It was
Yeah.
probably on in the house, and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah. And
So
I do like the fact that that we are branching out and including other other genres of rock and roll, because I mean there are lots of different genres of rock and roll, and yeah, I think having a Latin group is very cool. So
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Next on the list is a band that I feel as though is absolutely worthy of getting in. The timing is impeccable. I think they could close out the event. This or the other artist, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I think this band is a shoo-in, and this is Oasis. With 7
Yeah.
studio albums, 3 Oasis songs made the Billboard Top 100, and 11 of their albums appeared on the Billboard Top 200. Wonderwall peaked at number 8 in 1996. 11 Oasis albums appeared on the Billboard Top 200, including 3 in the top 10s. Be Here Now peaked at number 2 in 1997. In the UK charts, Oasis had 8 number 1 singles and 8 number 1 albums in the UK charts. Some of their number 1 singles include Some Might Say, Don't Look Back in Anger, Do You Know What I Mean, and All Around the World. Wonderwall is one of the best-selling songs in history, selling over 1.34 million single copies. So it's not like the
Wow.
album; it's just the singles.
Hmm.
They have a 1 to 2 odds of getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow. Okay.
They
Those are
are betting odds are huge. They are also their reunion tour was on the same level financially as Beyonce, Taylor Swift, all those things. I mean, they're selling out venues, they're adding dates, they're selling out quickly. The resale market's super high for them. Their songs on Spotify jumped up as soon as reunion tour was announced with new listeners. And this is a great thing that Spotify put out. You can actually look at the age groups of like 25 and under, which they call new listeners. So
oh,
basically
okay.
generational things, and
Hmm.
it raised by 400% once they announced,
Wow.
and it's consistently grown. So there's a new love of Oasis. In my opinion, this is a band that if you put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's going to get eyes on the viewership, because last year's numbers of the viewership on Disney Plus was one
Yeah.
of the lower ones compared to previous years. I think this is a band that you could put on there and get those numbers. There's only one other band on this entire list, in my opinion, that would bring more eyes if they were performing. But
Hmm.
I think this is one that could definitely generate a lot of buzz.
I think timing wise, nobody on the list has better timing than Oasis at the moment right now. You know, getting ready to do this reunion tour, you know, getting out in the spotlight again, you know, reuniting, the brothers getting back together. I mean, it's got all the it's like the makings of like a Super Bowl story. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, oh, you've got that. So it's got all the storylines. Um, I I mean, I like Oasis. I've seen them several times. I was a huge fan. I am still a fan. I do listen to them pretty
yeah,
often. But so I wouldn't be surprised if they get in. I think it's definitely like, and I think I know where you're going with the other band on the list if they perform. But yeah, this would be like one of those moments, like, you know, they close the show. They close the show. They
yeah,
bring down the house. Um, and it gives you that Oasis for me is there's always the element of danger with rock and roll. I think in a lot of modern rock and roll now, you don't really have that, and I think you always have that with Oasis. You
yeah,
don't know if it's going to be the greatest show you've ever seen or if it's going to crash and burn miserably.
yeah.
And part of you wants to watch it to see what happens.
I
So
I
just
agree.
that level of interest and excitement would definitely help with the help with the induction and the ceremony and all that. So yeah, we'll. I mean, so far they have the best odds. I'm
Yeah. Well,
really kind of shocked, but so
well,
we'll have to.
I
Oh, and so far they have the best odds.
so far.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
next on the list is Outcast, which betting odds is even money. The best
really?
betting odds. And let me give you some statistics and stats about Outcast. 3 number 1 hits, 6 studio albums, 4 top 10 hits, 19 songs in the top 100. Their debut album, Southern Playlist Cadillac Music, was released in 1994 and reached number 20 on the Billboard Billboard Top 200. The single Players Ball from Southern Playlist Cadillac Music reached number 37 on the Billboard Top 100. Their album, ATL Aliens, from 1996, and Aquarium in 1998, both peaked at number 2 in the Billboard Top 200. Their 2003 single Hey Ya reached number 1 on the Billboard Top 100 and was certified diamond by the Recording Industry Association of America. Outkast is considered one of the most influential and successful hip-hop acts to cross-generate between rock and roll fans and hip-hop artists. They've sold 20 million records and won 6 Grammy Awards. Now, there is a lot of rumors about them going on tour this fall, which would be the first time they have toured in over 15 years.
Yes.
There is a huge push from the Grammys to get them in. There's a huge push from so many different artists to get them in. Outkast to me is I love Outkast. I remember waiting in line to get the last album they put out, the double side album where it had
Speakerbox and Love Below.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many great stuff on there. And Andre 3000 is such a talented artist, voice and everything. To me, I think this is a get in. Like I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're getting in. I think this is. I feel like there's some people like it's not rock and roll. They can't get in. This is
No.
This is. I think even those people you can convince Outkast deserves to get in.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And they would be like the high point of like what in the world will they do, for a show. They're obviously going to do great stuff. I think anybody can argue with me all they want. I think Hey Ya is one of the greatest songs ever written.
Mm-hmm.
It's a song that you hear it on the radio to this day, and it still slaps, and it's so good, and it's you sing along to it, and it never gets old. It's just one of the best songs ever. And I also love, older stuff like Bombs Over Baghdad. I think is an amazing song. I mean, they're just
Miss Jackson.
They are nobody sounds like them. Outkast is a singular entity. And for me, that would be like one of the most. It was like last year when De La Soul? When De La Soul got in last year, and I was kind of bummed that they didn't actually perform, but it was just like, and Outkast has probably influenced tons and tons and tons of people.
Oh, God,
you can't be like they sound like Outkast, because only Outkast sounds like Outkast.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that one.
Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that they're at even, and I hope to God they get in. I really, really, really hope that. I mean, and if they go tour, I really hope they go tour.
Yeah, I think that one could be something that they could. So the rumor is right now from what I read on Reddit, was that they were supposed to go on tour Run the Jewels, which I think those two acts, that is like almost that's a huge home run. I would love to see that.
God.
So, love it. So, all right, we're ready for the next artist.
Oh, are we though? Are we?
This would be interesting. All right, so this is where I have to separate how I feel about an artist with intangibles. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to go with this intangibly. The band is Phish. Odds are 3-2. They've had 16 studio albums. They've sold over 4.3 million albums, with their top selling album Junta Junta selling over 1 million copies. Which, if you think about that, that means that the other 15 albums, you break that up over 3.3 million. Realistically, based off the other albums and on the artists, they're not selling as many as some of the other artists.
They're not a huge seller, yeah.
No. Phish albums have appeared on the Billboard Top 200 charts multiple times, including Farmhouse, Billy Breeze, Alive One, Hoist, and Slip, Stitch, and Pass. Farmhouse reached number 12 on June 3rd, 2000. Billy Breeze reached number 7 on February 11th, 1996. Alive One reached number 18 on July 15, 1995. Hoist reached number 34 on April 16th, 1994. Slip, Stitch, and Pass reached number 17 on November 15th, 1997. Now, here's the thing with Phish, and this is where I have to be kind of not non-biased or something.
Yeah.
They have a cult following, bigger than Pearl
They
Jam, bigger
do.
than Dave
No
Matthews.
question about it. Yes.
I would, they're kind of like there was.
They're the Grateful Dead of our generation.
Correct. And, I did see them live, and I this is not a joke. The person I went with, I looked at him at one point. I'm like, hey, when are they going to play the next song? Because their songs just go on. Like, they are a jam band. They are the definition of what a jam band is. They are more jammy than Grateful Dead. Like, I mean, they're probably still playing the song that I heard them play in 2005.
And that is not a joke. Yeah.
It's still going.
It's still going on.
Oh,
they are virtuosic musicians. Virtuosic musicians, all of them. They're amazing. I just don't like it. And it's, I understand the people that do. There are bands that I like that people probably don't like. It's just not for me. I understand that people love Phish. I have tons of friends that love Phish and they go see them all the time and all that good stuff. And I love what they do and what they stand for. It's just not like I'm not putting on a Phish record.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So I just typed in to see what would come up, and it was like bands that Phish influenced, right? Because and
I'm sure there's a ton of those.
Yeah, but like some of them, like you get Mount Joy, which that's a newer band I'm not real familiar with. I know like my buddy Bailey, who does a lot of posters and does their marketing for them. Just not real familiar with them. Goose,
yeah,
I've heard of them. Not Mo, the Disco Biscuit, Bella Fleck, and the Fleckstones. Never heard of them.
Flecktones. I mean, they're the jam band.
Yeah.
The jam band. Universe, the universe of jam bands. And I have friends that I have clients that I've worked with, and I have friends that are in that universe, and there are a lot of and I love that they love that kind of stuff, but I'm just not the jammiest I get is like Dave Matthews. And I think Dave can get jammy, but still within like the context of a song. And maybe I'm just one of those people that my thoughts are too rigid and a song should be 4 minutes long or whatever the case may be.
I mean, we can listen to the entire Ramones catalog during one of their songs. Just
probably, yeah. And people say it's a great experience in concert and all that stuff, and that's great. But like the only Phish song that I really like is like one of their like least popular songs. I mean, there are certain ones that I like, but I'm not like, you know what? I really want to listen to Phish right now. Yeah. That just isn't the sentence that I utter. And I think it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out because, like we said, the fan ballot doesn't really matter, but they are well ahead of everyone by about 40,000 votes. They already have over 100,000 votes. They are clearly in the lead, 40,000 over Billy Idol. So
wow.
That'll be interesting.
Did not expect that. But I guess, but again, I guess I could because their fan base is. Yeah. I mean,
remember, Dave Matthews, like 2 years before they got in, they were on the ballot at least 1 year before they got in, maybe two. They won the fan vote both of those years. They won the fan vote last year when they got in. They didn't get in for 2 years. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm interested to see how this sorts out for Phish. Yeah. I think they do get in at some point. The question is, do they get in this year? Yeah, I don't know.
There was when I lived in Maine, northern Maine. Phish had came through and played at this place. It was in Limestone, Maine. It was this old Army or I guess Air Force Army base, and they played the runway there. No screens, just them. And I remember.
Wow.
Just hundreds of thousands of people there, overtook this whole area, and it was insane. Their fan following, and it's still like that.
They're rabid. They are rabid. They go and God bless them.
They make Pearl Jam look PG.
Oh, I think I don't think there is a more rabid fan base than Phish in music right now. So,
all right. Well, we got two more artists to go, and I think we're both passionate about both of them.
Very much so, yes.
So let's talk about Soundgarden. We have talked about Soundgarden in the past because they've been nominated in the past during during our shows, and we both are very passionate about Chris Cornell. In my opinion, I still think Chris Cornell is the greatest frontman, lead singer, vocally that will never be repeated since Jimmy Page,
Or since
Robert Plant.
Robert Plant. No, you got it.
Yeah, Jimmy Page doesn't sing. God,
He's just a different animal, and and also I think people forget an amazing songwriter,
100%.
a great singer, great frontman, and a fantastic songwriter, and could write all kinds. I mean, Soundgarden was heavy and stuff like that, but he could write things like Black Hole Sun and Seasons from the single soundtrack is one of my favorite songs ever, and it's just him and acoustic guitar. So yeah, what are the odds on Soundgarden?
Soundgarden 6-1. And here's the thing, it's like why are they being nominated now? Like, I feel as though this is one of those bands, if they didn't get in 2 years ago, that they should have given a break. But it is LA. There is roots to Chris Cornell in LA. There is a lot of I mean, I guess that's why it's there too. I mean, they've had several songs on the Billboard charts. I mean, Black Hole Sun, Spoon Man, Produce, Bird in My Hand. They've sold 14 million records in the U.S. and an estimated 30 million worldwide. They are still very. I mean, I still think they were the band that was the bridge between the hair metal and grunge. Like if you were a Guns N' Roses fan, you're like, oh fuck, Pearl Jam, fucking Guns. Be like,
well,
right, listen to Soundgarden first.
Soundgarden opened up for Guns N' Roses on some of the Use Your Illusion shows, and the Guns N' Roses fans did not like Soundgarden. But I totally agree with you that I think that is a bridge band. If you were rocking some hair metal in the late 90s, and then you saw Chris Cornell with all that hair, and that could have beelined you straight into grunge, and it's a direct line to Alice in Chains and everything else. So
totally agree.
Yeah, and so my heart and soul is hoping that Soundgarden gets in. I would love. Did you ever hear any of the audio of the woman that performed with them recently? They did
yes, in Seattle at the Smash event.
Did you
yes,
hear any? How was she?
It was fantastic. It was amazing. You're talking. What was the girl's name?
Can't remember.
Brittany Murphy, right? No, not Brittany Murphy.
No.
Hold on, I can research this.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I mean, I would love to see like Brady Carlisle. I think that Brady Carlisle is also one of these Rock and Roll Hall of Fame darlings that kind of like Sheryl Crow was. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get in if she pops up and sings. Although I also I don't know. Did you watch the last induction?
Last year's, yes.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job with Ozzy to have other singers come in and sing for Ozzy. So it would be interesting to see who they get to play with to sing with Soundgarden. That could be a really interesting moment to see who they bring in to sing Soundgarden songs.
Yeah, because
as long as they don't screw it up.
It is interesting how there are a lot of artists, like even Nirvana, how they're kind of bringing in these other artists. Oh, the artist, by the way, was Shania Shepherd? Shanna Shepherd?
Something like that.
Yes. So, but she was amazing. Yes.
Okay.
No, it was good. And there is a video on YouTube I would highly recommend.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
The only thing I have to say is, like, why now? Like, I mean, Chris.
Well, yeah, was it? Well, did we say 2 years ago they were on the list? 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, okay, yeah.
And that was the first time they were ever nominated. This is the second time, but it's like, why now? So, but I mean, they deserve to be there. That's the thing. Like, their music, Soundgarden is still like, I mean, like, there's so many bands that are playing now that are influenced by them, and they're always going to be influencing bands. People are always going to try to be the next Chris Cornell or the next Matt Cameron or Well,
and that's just, and the thing is, it's not going to happen because people just can't. People can't sing like that. I mean, he had a voice that was, unmatched. I mean, and and even amongst like how many voices in Seattle, like Eddie and Lane and Cobain, and he just was head and shoulders above them all. I mean,
Totally agree.
could just do things that other people could not do. And yeah, I was listening to Audio Slave the other day, and I just love his voice. I mean, yeah, and we miss him every day.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. It's gonna be hard, but yeah.
So I hope they get them, and this next band on the list are also my hope that they get in.
Yeah. So here, let's talk about the White Stripes. Okay. First of all, I think the White Stripes were a genre-shaking kind of band, and I listened to an interview the other day with Jack White, and he was talking about Seven Nation Army. I think it was with Conan O'Brien, and how like he like that song is like bigger than him, and like how that song has kind of is worldwide.
Taking on a life of its own.
It's on its own. Like it's crazy. They talked about going to see a Dodgers game, and this song
Yeah.
came on, and like Jack White wasn't even fazed by everybody singing it. Conan's like, "This is your song." He's like, "Yeah, it's their song. It's not mine anymore."
Yeah. It's taken on the life of its own. Yeah. So it's another thing.
But 6 studio albums. They were included in the Rolling Stones list of 500 greatest albums of all time for White Blood Cells and Elephant. They were named as the 6th greatest duo of all time by Rolling Stones in 2015. Which I think we could go rip that list apart.
Probably, yeah.
Having White Blood Cells included on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 200 definitive album list as of last year. So listen, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's 200 definitive albums of all time was put on there. They've had only 3 songs in the Billboard Top 100, which was Seven Nation Army, which was peaked at 76, which is crazy. Icky Thump at 26, and Blue Orchard at 43. I still think there's so many other great songs that are overlooked that I should have charted, like Fell in Love with a Girl. Doorbell.
I'm shocked Fell in Love with a Girl didn't chart. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
That's really surprising to me.
Hardest Button to Button, like that song was everywhere.
Oh
the
God,
Simpsons did something with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here is where we go down a rabbit hole. You ready for this rabbit hole of Reddit that I've gone through?
Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh, here we go. So there is photos online on Reddit from where supposedly Meg White was seen. She has supposedly been working out, getting in shape, because I don't know if you saw her recently. There was pictures of her from a few years ago where she just gained a little bit of weight. Suppose she's been working out, but also she's been seen playing with another artist in Detroit at these solo shows where no phones are allowed. Someone sneaked in with some glasses and were able to get a picture of her.
Now you get to take off those meta glasses.
Yeah.
When you go in.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I have those. I've had.
Oh, do you?
I've had them since I was one of the first people to get them. I use them for work all the time. They're actually, if you use them correctly, they're great. I know people who do them incorrectly, and it's fucked up. But it's also like we go to Comic-Cons, and instead of me paying $57 to get a picture with a random guy, I'll buy his autograph and be like, Brady, just turn around real quick, and I'll snap a picture real quick. Is it wrong? Wow. Probably, but it saves me some money. But with that being said, there's a lot of speculation. The only way that I ever see the White Stripes getting in and being done right, and the only way that I would ever appreciate them getting in, is if they perform again.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, and I think that's what you would be hoping for. Yeah.
The only thing that holds if Jack White didn't just put out an amazing album, which No Name is absolutely amazing. I'm seeing it. Our buddy Brad is flying out here in April. We're gonna go see him 3 times.
Where are you guys going?
We're going to go see him in St. Louis. Then he's flying into Kansas City. We're driving to St. Louis. We're seeing him on Thursday in St. Louis, Friday in Kansas City, and then Saturday in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
But here's the thing. They are even money. They're the second highest betting odd favorite. And the reason that there's statistically this way is because Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has done a lot with the White Stripes over the last 12 months with promotional things, T-shirts, merchandise, all that. Jack White has been around the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Ohio a few times over the last year. So there is speculation of that as well, kind of like how Eddie Vedder did some stuff with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame leading up to Pearl Jam getting in. I would hate for them to go in and them not perform, because I don't want to see the Black Keys play let's play 7.
Oh, that would be awful.
Yeah. I just don't.
No, you would want to see them. You would want to see them reunite. You definitely.
Correct.
That's the thing. I mean, not the only reason that you want them to get in, but I mean that's the carrot at the end. I mean, you want them to perform together again. because they're not going to. This would be like what, minus the animosity of the Talking Heads. This would be the Talking Heads. Like this is the Talking Heads last time they performed together was when they got in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So this would be like on that level. This is the last time we're probably going to see the White Stripes.
Yes, I agree.
And that's huge, and that is just fucking mind blowing. And you'd love to see that. I mean, yeah, I've seen them. You know, I've seen them on TV and everything. I got to see them. God bless. You know, I saw them 3 times live. But God, I would give almost anything to see them perform together again, because just not that Jack doesn't have that chemistry with the other people that he plays with, but it's just not the same. It's not. They perform together as a unit, and they're just like connected in a way that he's not connected with other people, and it would be so fun to watch them again.
I agree. I think I don't know if I ever told you this, but I mean the poster. I don't know if you can see the red poster. It might be hard to see. Hold on, let me see. So on my wall, one of my favorite posters right there, that red one, next to the guitar, is
that a Rob Jones?
Yes. It took me forever to find that poster. P.S. And I was able to track it down. But it is the White Stripes' like second to last show. Really? I had no idea until recently. I've been searching for that poster for 15 years. And a buddy of mine was able to get it for me. So yeah, one of my favorite posters. But yeah, I was able to see them. It was amazing. It was different. There's just something special about him. I've seen Jack White, 25 times by solo, and it's amazing. It's fantastic. But it's still like when he sings White Stripes songs, it's like it's almost him covering himself a little bit.
Covering himself, yeah.
It's just different. It's different. But yeah. So what are the 7 artists that you are putting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I would go Mariah Carey, Outkast, Cyndi Lauper, Joy Division, Soundgarden, the White Stripes, and the Black Crowes.
Okay.
If I were voting, and that's who I would choose. How about you?
So I am going off of like if I was doing this because it makes sense. I would do Cyndi Lauper, Mana, Mariah Carey, Oasis, Outkast, Billy Idol, White Stripes, Joy Division.
It's a good list.
I thought so.
I think it's a really good collection of nominees this year. I think it spans a good dearth of time. But we get a really, I think this is one of the first years there's a really solid focus on like 90s and early 2000s bands, or acts, which just makes me happy because that's our time frame. Yeah, it's our generation. So,
well, lining that up, here's something for you. The list of artists that are eligible for nomination starting this year was huge. I went through and I found like the top artists based off of things that I think that you and me like, or ones that we kind of can laugh at a little bit. So let me just run through this real quick. If something pops out, you say something. But Three Doors Down is eligible. Perfect.
How did they not make the list?
I'm shocked they got in over White Stripes. I didn't get over it. A Perfect Circle, the All American Rejects, because they had that one song. Andrew WK, the Avett Brothers, which shocked me. I didn't realize they've been around that long.
Wow, no kidding.
Eminem's side project D12, Dashboard Confessionals, Disturbed, which they kind of a following.
25th anniversary of The Sickness, man. They're touring that now.
Are you down with The Sickness?
Yeah.
Fozzy, which I didn't realize Chris Jericho had a band.
Oh yeah, Chris Jericho, Fozzy.
Which I mean, he'll never get in. Charlotte, The Good Life, Gorillaz, which to me personally, you want to talk about a band that crosses over so many different styles of music. Gorillaz, 100%. Like they in the next 5 years, they at least should be nominated. Interpol,
I love Gorillaz.
Interpol, which is kind of Joy Division, kind of they influence.
Oh, right? Definitely. I think definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keen,
which would Keen? What the Strokes have got to be close, right? Are they on?
They were eligible for 3 or 4 years ago. One of the shows we talked about. Kill Switch, Engage, Lamb of God, Linkin Park.
That'll be a hard day.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge Linkin Park fan.
No, I don't like what they're doing right now either. I feel like now this is a money grab for them, and even their guitarist who pulled out said this is 100% a money grab.
I don't like that. Bad taste.
Yeah, Mad Ib, I don't know them. Mark Kozik, Michelle Branch, Nelly. Nelly is it's getting hot in here. Is it time for him to be a nominee?
I don't know.
Also, another Nelly Furtado is also eligible.
Oh,
The New Pornographers are eligible. OK Go, which is probably the beginning of social media music and utilizing the platform of social
yes.
media to get in.
Hmm.
Pete Yorn, who I adore Pete Yorn.
Oh, gotta like Pete
Um,
Yorn.
Pink, who I think Pink is another one. Cyndi Lauper,
Oh
Mariah
yeah,
Carey influence, right? See,
Pink will get in at some point.
Rascal Flatts, Ryan Adams, and Rat Dog.
Rat Dog, another jam band.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's just some of the ones off on the list. So that
Hmm.
was, 100%. But yeah, I think it's a good list.
Yeah.
Things to look forward to. It'll be interesting. When does voting end?
I am not sure.
Hmm.
Couldn't tell you, but they will do. They usually announce in like late April, early May.
Okay.
So
Oh,
we will
wow.
be able to have another. We'll do something in between them, but then yes, we will discuss and break down who gets in and who does
Who
not get in
who made the cut? And who
to
didn't
perform in
make
LA, which is kind of LA, whatever. But
it? I'm not an
what
LA fan.
did you watch? Did you watch the Saturday Night Live concert that they did at Radio City?
I have not watched it yet. So
Oh,
I am working a lot of. I'm actually, as soon as I get off this, I'm going in the shower and I'm working overnight tonight. I'm doing a lot of
oh
overnight
wow,
projects here.
yeah,
Just a lot going on. There's a lot of push to get things done. And we're
yeah.
getting all these snowstorms we're getting here have
Mm.
totally messed things up. So I haven't had an opportunity to watch it. It's on my list of things to watch. Um, but yeah, no, haven't had an
It's really
opportunity yet.
good. It's really good. I thought the performances were most of the performances were pretty good, and it was fun. So yeah, definitely give that. If you haven't seen it, it's on Peacock. Go check it out. It was pretty fun.
Oh,
Eddie did a Eddie did a little so the backing band was the Roots for everybody, and Eddie did a little homage to Elvis Costello, his famous we don't need to play this song, and then broke into a little corduroy, which was kind of fun.
oh, that's
But
cool.
yeah. So it was, and then there was a little bit of a Nirvana reunion with Post Malone singing and playing guitar, which actually wasn't as bad as it sounds.
Did you hear the
Um,
rumors of them touring next year?
that I don't want to see,
It's
but
yeah.
that yeah, I don't need to see that. But hey, do what I think Dave, Mr. Grohl needs to, Dave, get your personal life in order and then go out and make some music.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's cool, and then. So yeah, so I do have. I'm working with somebody that we just talked about on a couple of
Oh.
posters
Okay, wait, are you
for
able to
his
mention it?
upcoming tour. Um, he's on the list of nominees at the Rock Hall.
And it's an individual?
Yeah, he's a solo artist now.
Well,
And you
well,
mentioned that you were going to some of his concerts. So
oh, you get the fuck
doing
out of
a
here. You're doing Jack
yeah,
White?
so I'm doing a couple of Jack White posters.
Get at it, dude.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
yes, it was very exciting. I'm working on one for Cleveland, which I will be
Ooh.
going to that show. I'm very excited at the Agora Theater, and then I'm going to be doing one out in Salt Lake City. So
Ah.
yeah, but
None of the shows I'm going to. Son of a
no,
bitch.
no, but I'm sure that they're putting together a bang up list of artists, and we'll have some awesome posters. So
Let me ask you a question because this would answer one of my like is the one thing they tell you like you have to use the blue color tones in the poster?
um, the direction was very limited. They did say that they were going with the blue tones, that they were working with the blue tones for this tour, and I actually used some of the posters from the first leg to get my color references,
Okay.
and we were cool with the color references. So
That is
yep,
awesome.
I'm very excited. It's going to be fun. It's
Nice.
been fun designing. So I think people are going to really enjoy what they're putting together for the tour.
Listen, all I have to say is, as you continue to get famous, just don't forget me. Like
Never.
you are blowing up in a way that like it's like holy shit, man, good for you. It's so well deserved. I've been saying this for years, and I ain't saying anything I haven't said in the past. But God, it has been so frustrating to me to watch like other like bands that we love, that we
Yeah.
have a big post community, just overlook you in a way, and it's like you gotta stop ignoring how talented you are, and like put him
thank
on
you.
fucking do it, right? Like just let him fucking do it, because when he does it right. So
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Andy.
well, Brian, we're gonna call this. Let me turn on some tunes in the
Oh
background.
yeah.
Let's a little new master sounds from good old England. So all right, well, listen, we'll reach out. Let's see if we can get another show on the books. Let's rip apart another list. I enjoy it. I actually don't mind doing earlier shows. It works for me. So
Cool.
whatever works for you. But
Yeah.
anything else you want to add, Brian, before we call it a night?
It was a delight talking to you. I love doing the Rock Hall lists, and I hope you don't have to work. I hope the work's not too crazy for you.
It is what it is. It pays the bills.
Good.
But until next time, I'm Anthony. That's Brian, and this is another Unnecessary List.